Okay, so this video is to introduce the project we're going to be working on over the next 7 to 8 days. The project, at least initially, will probably seem confusing. So part of the reason why I'm creating an instructional video is knowing that there are several different steps that you can go back and pause and rewatch the video in order to help you better understand what's going on. So the first thing you need to do is that when you come in the morning, you need to look at the television. Do you see OneNote and headphones? If you see OneNote and headphones up here or on the television, what you need to do is grab a computer and log in and go to OneNote. You also need to go and check out a pair of headphones if you did not bring your own. When you go to OneNote, it'll talk you through the warm-up, learning target. So what are you doing today in the warm-up? Tomorrow, or when you start this project, it'll say see brown piece of paper, or it will say see television. What you're going to see tomorrow is you're going to need to use the brown piece of paper to figure out what learning target you're currently doing or working on. As people go through and start working from today until the last day in about 8 or 9 days, each person, each student can be working on a different step, which means that they have a different learning target and they have a different warm-up answer. So how you figure out what step or what learning target you have is you need to find the brown piece of paper. Your brown piece of paper, which looks like this. So it's name block teacher, yours is light brown. You see that there's a total of day 1 all the way through day 9. Day 1 and 2, you're supposed to be working on creation of Israel, that topic. Day 3, you're supposed to work on the 6-day war. Day 4, imbalance of power. So the topics are in order. On the back side, it gives a general overview of what we're doing. We talked about this yesterday when I was showing pictures. Both the Israelis and the Palestinians have agreed that peace is needed in the Middle East. Before this can be accomplished, the borders between these two countries must be agreed upon. Based on your extensive expertise, what should the permanent borders be for both Israel and Palestine? Your proposal must have a solid foundation rooted in facts that justifies your opinion. So there's a total of 6 different topics that you're going to be using over the next 9 days. There's a total of 1, 2, 3 different learning targets that you will use. When you're working on creation of Israel, which is right here, when you're working on creation of Israel, this is your learning target. When you work on the 6-day war, this is your learning target. So for example, creation of Israel. I will become familiar with the history of the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. This is my learning target I would need to write down. So I will become familiar with the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. So I have my learning objective and learning target completed. So I've used the brown sheet, I've looked at the learning target, my warm-up. By the end of the day, my goal is to finish. So I come back here. By the end of the day, my goal is to finish. So notice how I've underlined and thrown it back. To answer your warm-up question, you will have to go to OneNote. So right now I'm working on the creation of Israel. So here are the instructions, including pictures off to the right of the documents and the things that you need to work on. So if it talks about, like you guys read yesterday, the creation of Israel, which is also labeled as document A, what you would then do, I'm going to use Finn's as an example. So you click on this side over here, creation of Israel. So this is where Finn is writing his answers. This is where he's getting his instructions. So once again, I'm clicking on this arrow, Middle East project, I find the same one. So creation of Israel. In order to complete creation of Israel, you have to look at a PowerPoint, do readings, watch a video, and create a couple maps. So my goal, after I read through this, by the end of the day, my goal is to finish watching the video and to finish writing my paragraph. So for my learning target for today, I'll become familiar with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. That once again came from your learning target right here. My warm-up answer. By the end of the day, my goal is to finish. And I read through this, decide what my goal is to finish, and have done by the end of the day. Once again, I'm writing my creation of Israel. Each person has this created, creation of Israel. This is where you're writing it at. So, a couple other things. Up on the board, you'll see an example of a page that's already completed and done. So this would be an example. This part on this left side could be something that if I asked you to do the same thing or create a page in OneNote for the end of apartheid, this is what I would need to see. You need to see a proper heading. First name, last name. Block 7, Mr. Patterson. If it's asking you to do the reading, notice how there are section titles and there's text evidence. Notice how I've thrown back the questions that are being asked in the OneNote instructions. Notice how I put relevant pictures and extra information on there to help my understanding. As you go through, and let's say today I work really hard on day 2, and I go through and I create and I finish the creation of Israel. I'll get Mr. Patterson to make a check mark that I finished it, and then he will sign off, which will allow me to go to the 6-day war. When I finish the 6-day war, I'll get a check mark and I'll get a signature. What also is going to happen as you go through, I'm going to keep track of who is completing what. So let's say Finn, because he's always my example, finishes the creation of Israel. He will now be on the 6-day war. When he finishes the 6-day war, he'll then go to the imbalance of power and then settlements. If you notice this section right here, which is in blue, the blue section kind of tells you where you need to be. So on day 3, if we go back to our piece of paper, our tan piece of paper, we're supposed to be on the 6-day war. So on day 3, I'm going to move the blue from creation of Israel to 6-day war. So the blue, and the whole reason why I show you where people are at is for you to understand if you are ahead of where you need to be, if you're at where you need to be, or if you're behind. If you are behind, there's a good chance that you will lose privileges of listening to music. There's a good chance that Mr. Patterson will then work with you. So part of what this is doing is it's letting you work at your own pace as you go through creation of Israel, all the way going and creating a propaganda video and preparing for our summit debate that we're going to have in class in 9 weeks. Once again, go back and rewatch this video. Pause it where you need to be. My main suggestion is your brown piece of paper, either your calendar or on the back here, will have most of the things, if you read through, of what you need to do. And I will not rap at you today. I know. I was actually running out of Kleenexes. And we already had one fire drill, and I don't want to, set off another one. As we have an awkward silence because I cannot remember how to pause this. There we go.